it will open up the UiPath assistant or the agent window. And if you click here on the settings, this is where we will see the orchestrator settings. And this is where we'll specify which instance of orchestrator uh, this agent will connect to, right? So some few basic concepts around UiPath agent, right? So agent runs within a laptop or a desktop, and then that laptop or a desktop has a unique host name or the machine name, right? And that machine name will be configured within the orchestrator, right? And that's how our agent running on your laptop or desktop will be able to connect to the orchestrator, right? So what we'll do as the next step is we'll copy this machine name from the the UiPath agent settings window, right? So we'll do a Control C, and we will go back to the orchestrator, the cloud orchestrator tenant. So we'll click here. So the very first setup that we'll perform in the orchestrator is we'll first define a machine that represents our laptop or desktop, right? So I'll go here, I'll click on machines. Now in this case, I already have a machine defined. So as part of a previous setup, I went in and defined this machine in the orchestrator. So the machine is already defined here. But in case you have to define a new machine, it's pretty simple and straightforward. So you click on the add button here and click on standard machine. We will discuss machine templates maybe in a different video. And you click on standard machine and just provide a machine name, and then you have to provide the details of the license that this machine is entitled or authorized to consume, right? So it's pretty simple and straightforward. Just keep in mind the machine name should match your laptop or your desktop host name or the device name, right? So we already have the machine defined here. The next step is you go in and define a robot that is connected to this machine or that represents this machine. So we'll go to robots, and here again I've already defined a robot, but I'll quickly show you the robot definition, right? So whenever you are defining a robot, you need to specify a valid machine name, right? So machine name definition is a prerequisite for you to define a robot. You have to give it a name. This name can be any meaningful name. You can give it a description. You have to specify a type. So in our case, we are using this robot for unattended executions. So when I say unattended, automations that that are deployed with an orchestrator and scheduled to run using a predefined schedule are typically termed as unattended robots. So for this particular robot definition, we are choosing the type as unattended, and keep in mind that unattended will typically be scheduled to run from the orchestrator, right? You don't have to go in and manually, although you can run it, but typically you will schedule them to run at a pre-specified schedule or a frequency. The credential store, we will leave it as default. Now the domain and the username is the username of your laptop or the desktop, right? So whenever we schedule an automation that is deployed with an orchestrator, right, to run on our laptop, the orchestrator would need to connect to your machine, and that's where it'll use this username and the password while it's trying to connect to your laptop or desktop and run a given automation, right? So this again is the username and password of the machine where you'll be running your robots, right? It can be a laptop, it can be a desktop, it can be a Windows virtual machine, and it can be a Windows 2012 server or a Windows 10 machine, right? And so these are the few things that we specify. So you, while defining a robot, right? Machine, the type, the username, password, and you're good to go, right? And in order to define a new robot, you just need to click on add. And here again, we will be defining a standard robot. We will discuss the concept of a floating robot in a separate video, but for now, keep in mind that we have defined a standard robot. Now, once we define a robot, we have to assign a robot to an environment. And then again, to define an environment, it's pretty straightforward. You just need to give it a name and a description, and that's it. So we have our machine defined, we have our robot defined, we have the robot assigned to the environment, right? Now the next step would be we go back to machine and we will get a machine key. So if you click on edit, and this is the machine key. So this is a unique key that the orchestrator generates for your laptop or for your desktop, right? So what we'll do is we'll copy it here and we'll go back to our laptop, right? Or the desktop where we are trying to configure the agent. So we'll go here and here we'll provide the machine key. So I do a control V here. And then I also need to provide an orchestrator URL here. So I will go back to my cloud account and keep in mind that this will be the URL. Go here, say control V, and now we say connect. So the UiPath agent is now trying to connect to the cloud orchestrator. Now you can see it says connected and licensed, right? So we are now, your laptop or your desktop is now connected to the UiPath cloud orchestrator, right? And if we go back to the orchestrator console, right? If you click on robots, you will see that your robot now shows up in green, which means that it is connected